Saga, a son of Odin story. Saga, 2014-2019, Isa Millila. All rights reserved. Chapter 1. The Birth. Odin walks with his spear in his right hand in his palace. The other gods who are nearby can hear the sound when he hit the floor with his spear. Thor and Loki are nearby and hear also sound and how the ground shakes. Thor and Loki know very well what is happening. Odin he thinking of his kingdom, and always he and his wife Frigg want to have a daughter. Thor and Loki they understand why, because he already has 6 sons. The planets which he rules, above all on earth will the lightning every time he hits the spear on the ground at his palace. The people on earth believe Odin that he is angry, but goodness knows better that he just is stressed as all can be. Thor and Loki sees how Odin comes rushing out from his palace and runs out to the northern holes, and they see how he jumps down the hole that leads to the king's village. Thor and Loki it is surprised, because Odin always say where he's going to go, so everyone knows where he's going in advance. Down at the earth, and King's village looks the way it flashes even more, and it strikes a large flash hard on the ground a little further away. The people do not know that it is Odin who has landed there, but they think that is a normal flash. Odin landed near Shadow Valley, and walking down to the canyon to the lake in the valley where he sees the creature with large wings and yellow eyes. Near the creature is a big man with a shiny sword and with completely blank face, just 3 dark holes for eyes and mouth. His eyes light pale yellow in the middle, and he points his sword against Odin, who understand what will happen. The creature with wings run forward to Odin that goes into a defensive position, but it's too late. The creature hit the shoulder to Odin and managed to scratch with the sharp claws on Odin's right hand. The creature lands a little further away and Odin sees how the arm opens up and begins to bleed heavily. Odin has no choice but to get back up to Asgard. He waves his spear while he sees how the big man laughs and how his eyes turn completely yellow. Odin flies up and comes to the hole he jumped from. He yells for help, and his wife Frigg comes rushing from the palace and looking with big eyes how he was bleeding heavily from his arm. Frigg is tearing her skirt in long pieces and binds it tightly by the arm to stop the bleeding. Thor and Loki come rushing to his father lying on the ground. Odin, he gets up and tells them what has happened. All the gods come to hear what Odin has to say, and that is horrified to hear how a creature could harm a god. Thor and Loki wants to go down to earth and kill these creatures, but Odin he forbids them, because he knows that these creatures can kill gods. Suddenly Odin's injured arm makes sound and smoke come from his arm. The gods look with horrified how it smokes of his arm. Red smoke it is, and the sound is like burning flesh. Frigg she panics and does not know what she should do. Odin goes down on his knees and raises his arm, and the gods see how it smokes on the arm while they hear it sputters out. Odin, he pulls off the skirt pieces that Frigg had wrapped around, and looking with big eyes, how it heals up with a red glow. Suddenly he has a large scar like he had it all his life. Odin, he gets up as if nothing has happened and orders everyone to go home. The gods see how he lifts up his wife Frigg and carries into her palace and locks the doors. Thor and Loki are thinking about what just happened. Thor and Loki, they wake up the next morning and hear the palace doors opened up, and Odin and Frigg come out quite tired while they smile. Thor and Loki know what they have done and just smiles, but they cannot say anything, because it is quite natural that a husband and wife do so. 9 months after that, Frigg is ready to birth a child. The goddesses helps Frigg and they run back and forth inside the palace, and Odin he waits outside the palace with his sons, hoping that everything will go well. Vidar, he come from a hole at the north side, and all the gods hear how his metal shoes sound on the ground. He comes to Odin and the other gods and wonder how it will go, but he see how the gods are gathered outside the palace, and understands that the baby has not arrived. Vidar sees his brothers Thor and Loki, and goes to them and stands there and waits. Everyone is quiet and just waiting for the news that is coming soon. The whole time it comes up more gods from every hole that leads to different planets and waiting for news. Suddenly the door opens to the palace and is god Freya, who opens the door and asks Odin to come in, and it closes the door. Odin follows Freya, and he is nervous because he saw how serious Freya looked. But she knows better not to show emotion to Odin. Another door opened and Odin sees how Frigg lying on their bed completely exhausted but cannot see a child nearby. Suddenly Frigg and Freya smiles when Frigg pulls down her blanket and shows out her little baby. Odin goes to the child without saying a word and he smiles. Frigg lifts the child up gently and takes off the sheet, which is around the baby, and Odin smiles of happiness when he sees that it's a girl. Odin screams of joy and kisses his child and Frigg many times, and he runs out the door that opens when he approaches with a bang. He runs through the main hall and approaching the main gate, and it opens with and comes out and yells, "It's a girl!" All the gods rejoice with joy, and the sons of Odin hug each other for the first time in their lives. They are so glad it was to finally get a sister, but they are most excited for their father, who finally got what he wanted and waited for it for centuries. Odin goes back to his wife and children and asks, "What shall we call her?" Frigg answered, "I have always wanted to have a daughter, and if I would have got one, then she called Saga." Odin, he's thinking a little and says, "It's a very good name. Saga will be her name." Odin raises Saga carefully and sees that she has brown eyes and brown hair that shines in the light. He sees how Saga smile at her father, and Frigg see the tears flowing from Odin and how happy he is. Frigg knows that Odin will make every effort to make her happy and above all spoil her. Odin rises gently and Saga is wrapped in the sheet and goes slowly out toward the big gate that opens slowly when he will arrive. The gods are waiting outside and see how Odin comes with their newborn child. It is completely silent, and he goes into the ocean of gods who look at the baby and takes her on the cheek. Saga looks around with wide eyes how everyone is looking at her and comes to her brother. Thor makes strange noises that people make to speak baby language. Odin tells everyone that she will be called Saga, and the gods rejoice. Saga gets a little scared and wet herself. Odin gets a little panicked when he knows how hot it gets and how wet he is. He turns around and goes back into the palace again and leaves her to mother. Odin rushes out again to all the gods and cries out, "Now we have a big party in my daughter's honor." The sea of gods rejoices with happiness, and everyone goes into the palace, where goddesses have prepared with plenty of food and mead. Gold table is too full of grapes, oranges, bananas, and all kinds of meat. Mist is a Valkyrie, and his Odin personal servant serves mead to all. Her primary mission is to serve mead of the never-ending stream of mead, which flows from the goat Hydron. They party throughout the night, and the gods talk all the time about how nice Saga and bowls with Odin at all times. Down on Earth is the year 840, and the war between Northerners and people from Wineland is in full swing. Sven has just become king of Northland. King Frederick is dead of old age. The people mourn their great king who has ruled the country with great love and not out of greed. Sven is 25 years old and does not have much experience to run the country, nor to plan attacks against Wineland soldiers. The Norseman's faith is God Odin and his sons Thor and Loki. Every time a big blow to start, so they pray to Odin. Sven, he has help from his right-hand Harald, who is his best friend. They plan attacks together and how to keep Northland. They drink mead whilst planning, but Sven, he must take a pee and rushes out of the king's house. He runs out and comes to the door to outdoor toilet. He pulls the door and there is a guard who makes his needs. Sven shouting, "Get out! I have to pee!" And he grabs him and throws him out and goes into where he closes the door. After a minute he comes out and sees a vast crowd of people who are curious about what is happening. Sven looks around and calls out, "I am a least pounds lighter now," and laugh out loud. He runs into the king's house again, and the people they shake their heads. Odin, he wakes up next to his wife and daughter and goes over to her bird bath. He draws with his right hand and see how thousands of soldiers have gathered outside King's village. He sees how they march south. After a week, he sees how the king's men hanging wild wine land soldiers on the trees to discourage Wineland's rulers. Odin is shaking his head and thinking how people kill each other for a little bit country. Years go and are now the year 850, and Saga is 10 years and will for the first time to follow her father down to earth. Her hair has changed colour to black that extends right down to the floor. Saga is so keenly to go with his father down. Odin comes to Saga, saying, Are you ready to go down to Earth to see what your power are down there? Saga replies, Yes, I have waited long for this day. They go out on the north side of the great palace. There are different holes for different cities. Odin, he says, We are jumping into this hole, and we get down close to King's village. Saga replies, What will happen when I jump down the hole? Odin replies, We do not know, but I will make sure it goes well. I jump down first, wait 10 seconds, and jump into the hole. Saga, she nods as a yes. Odin, he goes down into the hole and comes out on the other side in a blue beam of light. He safely lands down to Earth. He is waiting for Saga that will jump through the hole. Saga takes Kit and jump down the hole, but suddenly she gets red eyes and red strippers around the entire body. The clothes go into 1,000 pieces, and she falls down fast towards the Earth. Chapter 2. Transformation. Odin looks to Saga falls towards the Earth as she turns into a beast. Saga sees that she turns into a dragon with large wings. But she does not know how to use them. Odin looks when Saga falls helplessly. Odin turns into a giant and takes a few big steps and stretches out his huge hand and receives gently Saga and holding her gently. Odin sees his daughter in a different guise and sees that Saga is fully alarmed and do not know what to do. Odin put her gently down on the ground in the tall grass. Saga is completely exhausted from the fall and transformation. Odin says, Are you okay? Saga tries to say something, but just get out a bird-like sound from her mouth. Odin is scratching his head and turns in the normal size again. Odin highlights with his hand over Saga's head are a dragon-like head. Red eyes, she has the dual ears and sharp teeth. Long tail she has, that is split at the end and large wings. Saga tries to stand up but has trouble with balance. She tries to speak but can only make the bird-like sound, but suddenly thinks Odin, How can I talk to her? Saga's eyes get big and staring straight at Odin's eyes and she thinks, Dad, I heard you, I heard you. Odin, he becomes happy and thinking, Oh, we can communicate by thinking, I am so glad. Saga responsible thinking, But Daddy, why have I turned into a beast? Odin responds thinking, I have never experienced anything like this before. Saga thinking, But how will I get up to Asgard again? Odin responds thinking, I cannot take you up. You have to get up there yourself. Saga thinking, Why? Odin responsible thinking, You have to learn to defend for yourself and take you to the Tree of Life which lies north at an island. You must climb it and you'll up to Asgard again. Saga responsible thinking, But how will I get there? Odin responds thinking, You will learn to fly and learn all the powers you have so you can handle the trip. Saga responds thinking, It seems that you are going to leave me here alone. Odin replies, I have to be up to Asgard and steer where otherwise it down the drain, but I send down a god who helps you. Odin walks up and hugs Saga. Saga is scared and tears coming from her eyes that slowly flows down to her cheek and fall down onto the green grass. The tears hits the grass and they die of acid that is spreading across the grass. Her tears are corrosive. Odin is waving goodbye to his daughter Saga, who is terrified. She is only 10 years old and never been outside of their secure homes. She sees how Odin flies up in a blue beam of light. It's getting dark and Saga looks around and hears sounds that she had never heard before. She sees a large spruce that covers all the way down to the grass. She tries to go there, but she is not used to walking on all fours. But after a little while, so she comes to the big tree and she settles under it and covers over one wing so she just looks with her red eyes. She shakes her fear of everything is new, and she hears strange noises. Meanwhile, from King's village, a guard named Sigvard is running to King Sven and says, There was a strange lightning at Shadow Valley. There came a light from the sky down to the ground. Sven replies, Send 5 men to see what it is. Harold brings 4 men and head off towards the spot. They ride through the southern forest to get to the Shadow Valley. Meanwhile, up in Asgard, Odin, he walks up to Thor and said, We have a problem. Saga was turned into a dragon when she came in contact with the air. She has trouble getting back here. Thor replies, What shall we do? Odin responds, We'll send one of us to take care of her and help her back home. Thor replies, Who do we send? Odin says, We are sending your brother Vidar. He is the right man. Thor replies, Yes, we will send him. Odin shouts to Vidar that run to Odin and says, "We have a problem with that. Saga cannot come up to Asgard. She turned into a dragon and do not know what to do." Vidar replies, "I run down immediately and help her." Vidar runs out towards the main gate to the north with his iron shoes and jump down the hole. Meanwhile, in the southern forest looks Harold and men that they will one orange beam of light down in the same place as before, and Harold shouts out, "Come on, men, we must hurry to get there." Harold and the men hurry against the place, but it's a long way. Vidar he lands in the same place as Odin, and Saga landed, but he does not see Saga somewhere. Vidar, that is equal to the top of the Christmas tree. He walks with heavy steps and the iron shoes give out a metallic sound. Vidar shouts, "Saga, where are you? It is Vidar, your brother." Saga hears Vidar yell and come out of the tree and look at Vidar that is a giant. Saga tries to say something, but can still only bird sounds from his mouth. Vidar turns around and sees the Saga, saying, "Are you the Saga?" Saga thinking, "Hey, my brother, I'm glad to see you. I'm so scared." Vidar hear her in his head and thinking too, "You cannot talk? I hear you in my head?" Saga thinking, well, obviously we can talk to each other by thinking. Vidar he waving his left arm and he shrink down to a normal person's height. While hurrying, Harold and the men hurry against the place. They see Vidar and a dragon. Harold jumps down from his horse, and the same makes all men. They draw their swords and running against Vidar and Saga. Vidar facing Saga sees no one, but suddenly Saga big eyes and scream like a bird. Chapter 3. Dangers. Vidar turns around and sees the men who will come rushing towards them. Vidar draws his sword and turns into a giant and takes a few steps and strikes them with his left hand and yells, "How dare you attack a god?" Harold, lying in a bush, cannot believe his eyes. All the men are scattered and damaged. Harold, he yells out, "Back to the horses." All the men are limping to their horses and have trouble getting up on the horses. Although they are Iceland horses and not so high, they have trouble getting up on them because of the damaged bodies. Harold shouting, "We did not know you were a god. We apologize and we will not disturb you." After many attempts, the men have finally come up on the horses and ride off to the king's village. Harold, he turns around and sees how Vidar turn into a normal human size. Vidar, he thinks, "We need to go from here. We are moving towards the north." Saga thinking, "I have a little trouble walking, is not used to going with these feet." Vidar thinking, "I can carry you." Vidar he waving his hand and becomes a giant again. He takes up the tail gently with his right hand and start walking north. Harold and the men they know how the pound in the earth. Harold turns around and sees how Vidar goes towards the north. With his left hand he takes the tree to the side as if it would be shrubs. Harold and the men hurrying back toward King's village. Vidar sees a mountain with a cave a little farther. He hurries there. He takes giant step and he looks into the cave that is in his eyes and sees that it is empty. He gently takes his right hand and puts Saga gently outside the cave. Vidar climbs up and has his foot outside the cave, waving his hand and become normal size again. Saga creeps in and Vidar sees some branches and logs. He cut them into smaller pieces. He puts them just outside the cave as a big pile. Vidar has nothing to do with fire, but suddenly sneezes Saga and splashing out flames from its nose, landing of the wood to catch fire quickly. Vidar, he rubs his fingers on the eyes and do not think it's true what he saw. Harold and the men who are close to King's village to see how the fire is farther away. It's getting dark and Saga fall asleep quickly to being so exhausted by all the events that she has been through. Vidar is standing outside the cave and look out towards the woods. He stands perfectly still with his sword ready. Vidar knows that beasts can smell from a far way, especially God's smell. At King's village, the guards up in towers look how Harold and men in violent speed of horses and shouting that they should open the big gate. The gate opened and they ride into a fierce momentum and stops. They are trying to come down from the horses, but most just fall off the horses down on the gravel. Sven, who has heard this, rush to get there and see that the men are badly injured and asks, "What's happened?" Harold replies exhausted, "We stumble upon a dragon and thought it was attacking a human, but the man was a god that was turned into a giant. He knocked us all out with one punch." Sven says, "We hope that the gods do not get angry at us now. We should never attack the gods. They help us and give us strength. Harald says, I watched them go to the north and there is a fire in the mountain. Sven replies, we cannot do anything more to upset the gods, so we let them be alone. The guards carry out the injured to the king's house, and the women come to take care for them. Harald, he limps into the king's house and take a large cup and dip it in the barrel of mead and drink up fast and burp so it echoes in the great room. The women look at Harald and shake her heads. Meanwhile, out in the cave, Saga is sleeping deep and Vidar guards outside the cave. The sun is starting to come up and it's morning. Saga wakes up and sees Vidar completely still outside the cave with his sword ready. Saga is thinking, good morning, brother. Vidar turns around and sees that Saga is awake and think, good morning, sister. Did you sleep well? Saga thinking, yes, but have had weird dreams that I'm up in the air and we are attacked by beasts. Vidar, he gets big eyes and think, we need to move here to the north now. Saga, she is standing up with her 4 legs and comes out of the cave, and the sun slowly comes up from the other side of the mountain. She hears the birds chirp. Vidar thinking, we go towards the north and at the same time you can train your wings. Saga does what he says, and they walk slowly toward the north and she flaps her wings to gain strength. Vidar think it goes a bit too slow and he was waving his right hand and turned into a giant. He take her gently with his left hand and look at Saga with its huge head and think, it will go a little faster if I carry you. You can practice with your wings while I go. Saga nods her head as a yes. Vidar, he goes with giant steps and going over the mountain. He goes further to the north. Meanwhile, up in Asgard, Odin is watching them with the bird bath and asks a question. The water from Mimir's well answers that Saga is in danger of a creature that is getting closer to her. Odin, he is frightened when he hears this and sends down his ravens Hugin and Munin to look for the beast. The ravens are in the main hall and they fly off towards the north gate and opens when they approach the door. They fly to the hole and come out the other side and are in the earth. They circulate down and stays high up to see the danger. Hugin flying away northwards and Munin are following Saga and Vidar. Saga, she flaps her wings and Vidar throws her up a few feet and Saga lands on Vidar's hand. Saga thinking, soon I can fly. Manage to fly a few yards. Vidar thinking, train on. Soon you can manage it. Saga thinking, I'm getting hungry, have not eaten food in a long time. Saga sees a lake further away and think, I see a lake further away where I can pick up some fish that we can eat. Vidar turn in that direction and take some giant steps as he keeps away tree with his right hand, as if it were bushes for a human. After a while they are there, and Vidar put down Saga gently on the beach. Vidar goes down into the lake and takes his huge hands and pulls them into the water and catches 5 trout and throws them up the beach where Saga is. He gets up a few more and throw them near Saga. Vidar takes some giant steps and coming up from the lake. He waves his arm and becomes a normal size and think, you managed to make fire yesterday. Try on the wood here. Saga thinking, how am I going to do it? I do not remember how I did. Vidar thinking, try, you managed it yesterday. Saga goes back with all 4 paws and looking toward the woodpile. She sounds like a bird beep when she tries, but suddenly clears his throat and she gets red mucus in the mouth while she blows, and there will be a big ball of fire that hits the woodpile and it burns. Red slime flowing down the wood and it burns. Saga is happy and jumps like a cat playing with a mouse. Vidar becomes happy and pats on Saga's head. While in Asgard looks Odin with Munin's eyes, what is happening, and see that Saga begins learn her powers. Vidar will take hold of the fish and throw them into the fire. After a moment, Vidar take a stick to get the fish out from the fire. They are pre-fried, and Vidar sees how Saga drooling mucus from the mouth. Saga, she stares at the fish that she had never been fed before. Saga goes to a fish and bends her head down and devours the whole fish on a flash. Vidar, he is hungry and starts to eat on one fish. Vidar see how Saga swallows down one by one. Up in Asgard, Odin sees how she eats by Munin's eyes. Odin, he gets a little relieved. They have eaten all fish and Vidar transforms himself into a giant again, taking up Saga with his left hand gently. Saga is in a better mood and will skip and jump as she flaps its large wings on Vidar's hand. Vidar continues his journey to the north with Saga on his hand. Chapter 4. Pursued. At King's Village are the rumours of God and the dragon that struck down the men at Shadow Valley. They think it is Shadow that is the dragon that has been terrorising the decade, and wonder why the gods accept it. In order to clarify the rumours, and if it's true that the gods helped the beast Shadow, Sven sent 10 men with Harald as a leader of men. Harald, who escaped lightly with a sprained ankle, collects men and get along all the weapons they need and dried meat. They jump on the islands, rested horses, and ride fast out towards the fire Harald saw at the mountain. Vidar avoids Death Forest, north of King's Village, that goes all the way to Northern Village. Vidar, he gets a strange feeling that he's being followed. He takes some giant steps and keeps Saga gently and looks around but sees nothing. Saga thinking, "What is it, brother?" Vidar responsible thinking, "I have a feeling that we are being persecuted by something. I do not know what it is, but someone's following us." Saga gets worried and looks around and stands on its hind legs but sees nothing. Vidar thinking, "Hold on tight, I will pick up speed." Saga is holding hard with her sharp claws, and Vidar he grins a little because it hurts like it is a splinter in a finger. He picks up speed and runs north, and Vidar's iron shoes make a metallic sound that echoes in the forest. Those in Northern Village feel the pounds in the ground and look at the water puddle, how it makes rings after every dunk from Vidar's steps. The men who stand guard at the wall, they see that Vidar has a violent speed in the open field. The guards make alarm by blowing into horns from animals. All men come up in the wall and see how Vidar running fast northward and coming towards them. A man named Jan screams out, "Look out! The giant coming here!" Everyone take cover and see how Vidar jumps and lands with one foot inside the village that crushes a cart. People screaming in fear and see how he jumps off the north side of the village. All the people take a breath and are glad that no one was injured. Suddenly a man shouts, "Take cover, everyone." On the south side there are flying logs on the wall overhead, and a big beast runs through the village. It has yellow glowing eyes. Houses flies in the air and people get trampled to death by the monster's huge hooves. Finally it runs through the north side, logs flying as it were, little sticks in forest. Beast continues to north. People see how the tree's falling down and it disappears north over. Vidar looks around and sees the tree falls down behind him and the monster is getting closer. Vidar sees a large lake a little further away and jumps into it with Saga in the hand. Odin looks with Munin's eyes and yell out for his sons Thor and Loki. Odin goes into a bird pond and pulls with his spear in the water. Thor and Loki see how Vidar is in the water with Saga in the hand. Vidar standing on the bottom of the lake and the water lasts up to his waist and holding Saga above the water. The beast is inside the forest edge and snorts steam from his nose. Chapter 5. Survive. Vidar looks beast and thinking, "As long as we're in the water, it will not hurt us." Saga looks against Vidar and nods. The beast comes out and it's a huge bull with gold horns and it is equal to the tallest tree. Beast has silver fur and yellow eyes. Yellow mucus comes out of the nose and mouth of the beast. The hooves are made of gold. Saga sees the beast and shaking with fear. Beast goes to the water's edge but do not dare to go into the water. Beast scrapes in the sand with his right hoof while it steams from the nose. Beast goes back and forth and suddenly Vidar see how it takes a big breath. Vidar goes into the water and let go of Saga who ends underwater. Vidar sees is lit up and the fire is above the water. Water boils on the surface. Saga goes ever deeper into the lake. Suddenly Saga's eyes go red and glow. Her whole body is glowing with red stripes. She flaps its wings and flies into a violent speed underwater. Vidar dare not go to the surface. He swims underwater and come up on the other side. Odin sees everything from the bird bath and screams of Loki, "Hurry up and help Vidar and Saga." Loki does not say a word. He takes his rod that has the form of a wolf on the top and the helmet with its deer antler. He runs through the north side of the gate. He sees the hole Vidar jumped in but takes the next instead. He falls through and the beast sees how big the explosion, little further away. Beast looks how a great white wolf with blue eyes coming through the woods. Wolf is equal to the beast itself. Meanwhile, Saga comes up from the lake a little further away. Beast looks at Saga and rushing towards her and breathes fire on her. Saga takes her right wing, and protects it from the fire. The fire goes out quickly and Saga has not taken any damage. White Wolf howl and rushes towards the beast and jump on it and bites on the neck, but the teeth do not penetrate the silver shield that it has. Saga gets up on its hind legs and gets up mucus and takes a big breath, and the White Wolf jumps aside while Saga breathes fire over the beast that are in a blaze. It burns on the right side of the beast. Right side of beast begins to melt and the beast jump into the water to extinguish the fire. White Wolf turns into Loki and Saga recognize immediately Loki and walks up to him. They do not see the beast. It is underwater, but suddenly they hear a big splash a little further away and the beast coming up from the water and snorts and looks at Loki and Saga. Beast turns away and runs south into the woods. Vidar jumps over the lake and lands next to Saga and Loki. Loki, he yells at Vidar, "What did you do on the other side of the lake? You just watched. You must defend your sister." Vidar turn into normal size and Saga sees how the two are yelling at each other. Saga gets enough and screams loud with a bird's voice and both Loki and Vidar are holding their ears. She screams long time and finally cannot Loki and Vidar stand up and fall down on the ground. Saga stops screaming and think, "Hey, do you not see that I'm okay?" Loki shakes his head and wondering how Saga could talk without moving his mouth. Both Loki and Vidar stand up and Vidar says, "Saga can talk by thinking." Saga thinks, "Vidar did his job. Loki apologizes to your brother now." Loki thinks, "I will never apologize for what I mean. The father sent me and I did as he said." Loki, he shakes his head and runs off into the woods and an explosion is heard while Loki flies up to Asgard. Vidar thinking, "Saga, take it easy. Loki is like that. He's the black sheep of the family but is always there for his family." Saga thinking, "We can discuss it later. Now we need to continue our walk towards the north." Vidar, he transforms himself into a giant again and takes her up gently and continue north. Meanwhile, Harald and the men arrived at the hills and do not see Vidar or dragon anywhere. They go little higher up and see how it smokes from the wood, but no one is there. Suddenly they see how trees overturns below and a monster that looks like Silver Bull runs just below them and continue to Shadow Valley. They decide to follow the beast. Harald and the men jump up on their horses and follow the beast. They see trees that have fallen down and large hoof prints. Harald yells, "It is easy to track the beast," and laughs as it echoes against the rock. The men look at each other and smiles. They think that finally they get to go into battle that makes Odin happy. After a few hours, Harald takes his arm up in the air and whispers, "Over there is the beast, but there's another dragon, yellow and black." Harald thinking, "But this is not the same dragon as we saw before. Could this be the shadow?" Harald and the men jump off their horses and bind the firm on the trees and creeps forward so not beast sees them. They come back and get big eyes. They see the dragon carve up a horse with its sharp claws, and the horse is still alive, but after a while it looks that the horse is dead. The beast that looks like a bull a little further up on the other side of the valley, and the dragon breathes fire on the horse and it becomes lightly grilled. They see how it bites while with the sharp teeth and eating up the horse in a few minutes. Harald, he says, "We will not stand a chance against these beasts. They will kill us in seconds." The men look at each other and nod as a yes, and they crawl back to the horses and opens the knots that hold the horses, though. They jump up on them and head off to the king village. Harald, he turns around and sees how the dragon's eyes glow yellow and yellow mucus draining from the dragon's mouth. Chapter 6, Death. He also notices that the dragon has seen them and yells, "Ride hard! The dragon is after us!" The men turn around and see how the dragon is approaching, and they panic and ride away like mad. Harald cries, "Fools, do not ride out in the open field, into the forest where we are protected." 6 men have panic, and Harald see how the dragon breathes fire over them, and the dragon is approaching one of the men who escaped from the fire. Harald looks with big eyes how the dragon comes ever closer to the man and the horse. The dragon opens its razor-sharp claws and cleaves the horse and the man to pieces. Harald and the 4 men who are left, they will stop to see how my friends run and burn all over his body. Harald takes out his bow and aim at Buddy that burns and shoots an arrow that hits him in the neck and falls down dead. The four men look at Harold with big eyes when he shed a few tears. They see how their friends are dead but must continue into the forest. They see how the dragon is approaching from the air, but they are in time right into the woods, and it does not come in and lift up and fly above the treetops and breathe fire, but the trees catching fire on the peaks, and the dragon gives up. Harold stop by and see how the dragon lands among the dead buddies and start eating them. Harold lifts up his sword to show honor to their dead buddies and yell, "See you in Valhalla." They go to the king's village. Meanwhile, Saga and Vidar is well up to the north. Saga, she jumps and practicing her wings on Vidar's hand. Vidar thinking, train to shoot fire too, not just the wings. Saga aims for a tree and clears his throat up mucus so it enters the mouth, and take a big breath and blow away a large jet of flame that flies 20 feet and hits the top of the tree, and it starts to burn intensely, and mucus from the tree flows down to the ground and the fire starts to spread. Vidar sees this and sees a small stream of water and take it up with the other hand and go to the fire to quench. The fire goes out and a big white smoke coming from the tree. Vidar thinking, this is not good. Now anyone can see it from afar. We must go on. Vidar looks down towards Saga that nods as a yes. Vidar taking big steps and continue north. After a moment, thinking Vidar, jump and try to fly. I receive you with your other hand. Saga thinking, but I do not dare. It is so high. Vidar responds thinking, jump and try to fly. Do not worry. I will receive you. Saga looks down to the ground, but she starts to shake with her paws and hurt Vidar with her sharp claws. Vidar, he is twisting in pain. Saga see this and is thinking, I'm sorry, my brother. Saga starts flapping her huge wings and looks towards Vidar other hand. She is flapping all she can and takes off and flies down to the other hand and will try to land. The wind is too strong and Vidar know this and grabs Saga with his hand. He opens his hand gently and see how Saga smiling from ear to ear. Saga is thinking, yes, I almost flied. Vidar is smiling and thinking, what did I tell you? I catch you as I promised. Saga gets up again and starts flapping her wings again, and Vidar is ready with his other hand. She jumps and flies slowly down towards Vidar's hand and lands safely. Saga screams like a hawk, but 100 times stronger. Vidar let go of Saga and takes over his ears, and Saga she falls down, but gets control of her wings and spins towards the ground, where she lands softly on a large rock. Vidar is looking with big eyes at Saga, who managed to fly a little while. Vidar thinking, you have found your second power, and it is the yell. It is deafening. Saga is thinking, I'm sorry, my brother, but I was so happy that managed to fly and land on